It was a bone-chilling winter night as I pulled into the desolate parking lot of the gas station. The clock struck midnight, signaling the beginning of my dreaded overnight shift from 11 to 7. I'd been stuck in this monotonous job for months, but the scarcity of alternatives and the peculiarities in other areas of my life made the nocturnal grind the only viable option. With a sigh, I parked my car in front of the building, the only company being my coworker's vehicle. He handed over the responsibilities and left, leaving me alone in the eerie stillness of the night. My manager had left a list of tasks on the desk, but I wasn't in a hurry to dive into them. The prospect of a short shift convinced me to postpone the inevitable, hoping to stave off the drowsiness threatening to engulf me. As I idled behind the desk, immersed in procrastination, the silence was abruptly shattered by the distant hum of an approaching vehicle. Peering through the frosty window, I spotted an ancient SUV parked at one of the pumps. Snowflakes danced in the air, and the deserted gas station seemed an unlikely stop for anyone in the dead of night. My coworker's car stood as the only witness to this peculiar intrusion into our desolate realm. I returned to my phone, scrolling through videos to distract myself from the unsettling scene outside. Time passed in a daze until, glancing up, I noticed the SUV still stationed by the pump. The headlights were extinguished, and the vehicle stood in eerie silence, as if frozen in time. Intrigued, I studied it, half expecting the mysterious driver to emerge and dispel the growing sense of unease. Minutes turned to an eternity, and the SUV remained untouched. The ominous stillness outside gnawed at my nerves, compelling me to abandon my cocoon of indifference. Standing, I approached the window, peering into the frigid darkness enveloping the gas station. A biting wind rattled the panes as I scrutinized both sides of the building, searching for any sign of life. No movement, no trace of human presence. The unsettling quietude intensified, heightening the disquiet that nestled within me. My gaze fixed on the abandoned SUV, a chilling uncertainty settling in the pit of my stomach. With trepidation, I slipped into my jacket and ventured outside, determined to unravel the enigma shrouding the mysterious vehicle. The moment I stepped into the biting cold, the reality of the situation gripped me. The wind howled, carrying an unspoken terror that whispered through the night. I hastened towards the SUV, my breath visible in the frosty air. The air was thick with suspense, and every step towards the dormant vehicle intensified the ominous ambiance. Approaching the silent SUV, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. A sense of dread clung to the icy atmosphere as I circled the vehicle, peering into its darkened windows. "Hello? Anyone in there?" I called out, my voice swallowed by the unforgiving night. The shadows within the car revealed no secrets, leaving me to grapple with the unsettling realization that the SUV seemed abandoned, a ghostly relic haunting the lonely gas station. The air thickened with an unspoken horror as I stood alone, the only witness to the mysteries that unfolded beneath the veil of the snowy night. In the eerie silence of the gas station parking lot, I found myself standing alone, surrounded by the cold darkness. The car I had been eyeing moments ago seemed deserted, but an unsettling feeling crept over me. I couldn't shake the notion that someone could be lurking nearby. My breath hung in the frigid air as I backed away, my eyes darting around the desolate scene. As I retraced my steps, my gaze dropped to the ground, revealing sinister imprints in the snow leading towards the building. They weren't heading to the front. Instead, they veered to the side. A shiver ran down my spine as I traced the prints back to the car. Despite the bone-chilling cold, I hesitated to investigate further, opting to seek refuge inside the gas station. Inside, the dimly lit space offered only marginal comfort. I hurriedly approached the counter and fumbled to turn on a feeble heater, desperately attempting to thaw my frozen hands. But my brief respite was shattered by an ominous thump that resonated through the building. Startled, I spun around, scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. A sense of dread enveloped me as I circled the counter, my eyes drawn to the back of the store. Puddles of dirty, melted snow revealed a trail leading to the supply room. With trepidation, I edged closer, peering into the darkness. Behind a shelving unit, the silhouette of a towering figure emerged. A scruffy beard framed a face that stared intently at me, freezing my heart in its gaze. Momentarily paralyzed by fear, I retreated to the safety of the counter, my mind racing. The seconds stretched into an eternity as I contemplated my next move. Eventually, I summoned the courage to pick up the store phone, my fingers trembling as I dialed the police, whispering urgent pleas for help. The agonizing wait seemed interminable, filled only with the haunting silence from the supply room. When the police arrived, I guided them to the mysterious figure's hiding place. To my dismay, the room yielded no intruder. Watery footprints led to the back door, and fresh tracks in the snow vanished into the dark, expansive field. In the days that followed, the field was combed, but no trace of the enigmatic man surfaced. The abandoned SUV offered no clues, no history of ownership. The mystery lingered, leaving us with unanswered questions and an unsettling uncertainty about what had transpired that chilling night. In another spine-chilling tale, I found myself navigating the shadowy corridors of a small restaurant. My routine shift took a sinister turn when a late-night delivery request led me down a twisted path of deception. Closing time loomed as I accepted the delivery assignment. The address seemed innocuous, but as I drove into the night, a call from my manager hinted at something awry. The customer claimed an error in the address, forcing me to divert from my route. As I followed the GPS to the new location, an unsettling realization gripped me. The destination was shrouded in darkness, far from the safety of the familiar streets. Doubt gnawed at me, urging a return to the restaurant, yet an unspoken compulsion pushed me forward. The desolate road stretched ahead, winding deeper into the unknown. The ominous atmosphere intensified, and a sense of foreboding settled over me. What awaited at the end of this unexpected journey? The truth remained elusive, buried in the shadows that clung to the deserted path. As the engine hummed softly in the quiet night, I began my drive through the desolate town. The streets were already wearing a shroud of emptiness, a common sight at this eerie hour. However, as I ventured further away from the heart of the town, the roads became hauntingly barren. It was as if the world outside my car window had slipped into a realm of solitude, devoid of any sign of life. The town's edge greeted me with a transformation. Buildings and houses gave way to sprawling grassy fields and looming trees, casting long, foreboding shadows. My destination loomed ahead, marked by an address that led me to a row of houses. But instead of a welcoming glow, all I saw were silent structures with their lights extinguished. Driving past these homes, a few porch lights flickered weakly, but the emptiness lingered. These were not the warm, inviting residences one might expect. Rather, they were single-story boxes, a chilling contrast to the surrounding darkness. Pulling up to the designated house, I parked on the dimly lit side of the street. As I stepped out with the delivery bag in hand, an unsettling feeling washed over me. The air itself seemed to hold its breath as I approached the door, shrouded in darkness without the comforting glow of streetlights. I knocked, the sound echoing in the stillness, and waited. A minute crawled by, and there was no response, no signs of life. A disquieting unease settled in, and I decided to leave the food at the doorstep. They hadn't paid, but the coldness of the night rendered the gesture futile. Turning to head back to my car, a sudden realization gripped me with fear. A man stood behind my vehicle, hunched over as though peering through the window. My heart skipped a beat as I halted. The silence intensified, and he slowly raised his head to meet my gaze. Struggling to discern his features in the enveloping darkness, I managed to catch a glimpse of his older face. "Do you need something?" I asked, the words hanging in the air unanswered. The unsettling sensation grew, permeating the stillness. I peered around, finding only shadows among the trees. The man retreated a few steps, positioning himself about 5 feet from the door. An uneasy dance unfolded, and a chill ran down my spine. Torn between curiosity and trepidation, I approached cautiously. The man remained fixated on me, an ominous presence in the dimness. Opening the door, I hurried inside, hoping to escape the mounting discomfort. Before I could even flick the light switch, the silence shattered. The man outside erupted into screams, his eyes fixed on the dark expanse of the woods. Turning to look, I discerned shadowy figures emerging from the depths, converging on my car. Panic seized me as realization dawned. This wasn't a mere delivery. It was a trap, orchestrated by unseen forces lurking in the night. As I sped away in my delivery truck, an eerie sense of unease clung to me like a sinister fog. The night was shrouded in darkness, and the only illumination came from the feeble glow of distant streetlights. I had just dropped off a package at an address that sent shivers down my spine. Little did I know, the horrifying ordeal was just beginning. The GPS directed me to a desolate neighborhood, where shadows danced ominously between dilapidated houses. I reached the destination, a decaying property that was neither abandoned nor inhabited. It stood frozen in time, a relic from the past, with windows shattered like fractured memories. As I approached the front door, a peculiar feeling settled in the pit of my stomach. The air grew thick with an otherworldly silence, broken only by the creaking of the rusty gate swaying in the wind. I knocked hesitantly, half expecting the house to swallow me whole. To my surprise, a man answered the door, his features obscured by the dim light. He handed me a package, an odd-shaped box wrapped in tattered paper. The address seemed insignificant, a mere placeholder in the grand scheme of this twisted tale. As I turned to leave, an unsettling murmur emanated from the depths of the house. I couldn't discern its origin, but it sent shivers down my spine. Something wasn't right, and my instincts screamed at me to flee. Without a second thought, I rushed back to my truck, the ominous whispering growing louder. Panic set in as I fumbled for my keys, glancing nervously over my shoulder. Just as I started the engine, a group of shadowy figures emerged from the darkness. Their faces were concealed, but their intent was unmistakable. They approached with a malevolence that chilled my very soul. One of them, a menacing silhouette, tried to block my path. Fear gripped me as I slammed the truck into reverse, narrowly escaping their clutches. The man lunged, his hands clawing at the air, but I managed to slip away. As I sped down the desolate streets, the echoes of their enraged yells lingered like haunting echoes. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had narrowly escaped something unspeakable. The police were called, but the investigation revealed a disturbing truth. The house I delivered to was a vacant, forgotten relic. The owners had long abandoned it, leaving it to decay in a state of eerie desolation. The one who placed the order remained elusive, and the initial address held no significance. The unanswered questions lingered like ghosts in the recesses of my mind. Who were those shadowy figures, and what malevolent plans did they harbor? The mystery, like the darkness that enveloped that forsaken house, remained impenetrable.